There's always that one guy, right, that literally I'll put a video out there and 30 seconds after it goes live, there's a thumbs down and he didn't even watch like 30 seconds of it. I'm sure he already thumbs down this video already, which makes me happy because at least I know he's got the bell notification on and he knows when I go live. Hey everybody, welcome back to the vlog. So today is going to be another Sony day, but I have a special guest with me, and back by popular demand, it is Jimmy Denham. So how are you doing, Jim? How's everything going? I'm good. Everything's good. Glad to be here. Awesome. I know I was looking back at the last video that we did, I think it was about 4 or 5 vlogs ago, and it was like at like 5,000 views, and I haven't looked at it in quite some time. Like, wow. And there was people commenting on how they enjoyed your work, and that really made me feel good because I know we put your work up when we discussed how you went from the Canon over to Sony and made that transformation or whatnot. So very, very cool. So anyways, if you guys haven't seen any of his work, there's something behind me right now that is absolutely amazing. That is the, as we call it, right, the Bob Ross? The Bob Ross image, yeah.
Hello, I'm Bob Ross. Let me extend a personal invitation for you to drag out your oil paints and paint along with us each week.
That's it, you know, with the mighty paintbrush, guys. If you haven't ever seen Bob Ross because you're too young to have seen him, go and take a look at him. He does amazing painting work, and that's exactly what this photograph looks like. It just looks like one of these paintings. It is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to put it up on the screen so you can see it in detail. So if I just look here. Anyways, today I want to take a look at, you know, Sony and how they're moving forward. And I did a vlog on comparing the A7 with the A9, and I was saying the A7 Mark III was the baby brother of the A9, and how does Sony do it, right? How do they do it? So I just want to kind of get your thoughts on it and just kind of talk about it just a little bit.
Sounds good. I'm all in.
So as far as the A7 Mark III, I mean, there's so many good features in there. Probably one of the biggest features that you and I both just have talked about and said are just amazing is that movement of the 693 points of autofocus into this machine. I mean,
right.
Canon would never have done this, right?
No. I mean, the one thing that I've struggled with the A7 II, if anything, it was the autofocus on especially continuous tracking and stuff. And they've upgraded, you know, the A6500, then the A7R3 and the A9 all have, you know, really good. And then they decided to take that same technology and throw it into what they call their basic grade. I can't imagine, like you say, someone like Canon or Nikon doing that because, gosh, that's why you would go to one of those more advanced grades, higher price grades. And it's really amazing that they did it.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know. I mean, between the A7 Mark III and the A9, I mean, you're looking at about $2,500 difference, guys. $2,500. And you know, the differences between the two are literally just minimus. I mean, you're looking at 1/8,000th of a second to like 1/32nd, I think it was 32,000th of a second. So you're going to be able to, you know, shoot maybe a little bit quicker, you know, use, let's say, a 1.2 lens and still be able to shoot that in just wide open sunlight. You know, there's certain things, but there's very, very little. And of course, you have 20 frames per second compared to 10 frames per second on the, you know, A7, you know, Mark III, but that's not really a big difference. And like we talked about before, and like I talked about in the vlog, that 20, you know, frames per second all of a sudden turns into 5 if you go into a mechanical shutter. Anyway, so there's very minimal. And, you know, one of your favorite things is, as I call it, those zombie batteries, you know, those Z batteries, right? The Z batteries that just give you so much more life out of the Sony, where a lot of people were complaining, and you also, right?
Right. I mean, it's a shame they can't change that with firmware. That'd be really nice because I'd really like to take advantage of those with the Mark II. But it's another one of those upgrades that Sony has decided to put in all of their models rather than just the higher priced ones and the more professional grade, I guess you could say. And it's what's setting them apart, I think, from their competition right now. And I had mentioned earlier that they're not only driving innovation in the product, but now they're starting to push the market in a different direction, because they're putting all of these upgrades into all of their cameras, and they're kind of blurring those lines between the basic grade, the low light grade, the professional grade, and they're just trying to get people in, and it's a pretty amazing model that they're using right now.
Yeah, they're not skimping on these bodies. They're putting they're putting the sink into them and putting them out there and just hoping to bring in new people. And I think they're doing it. They really are doing it. They're doing, Canon and Nikon. Guys, I told you guys just months and months and months ago, I said, listen, they're going to be coming out with a full frame mirrorless camera, period. They have to have an answer to Sony. They cannot just go silent any longer. They're going to start losing market share. And there's a lot of people who said, oh no, you're crazy, that will never happen. Well, we just got reports right from one of the Sony executives, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that says we are absolutely aware that both Canon and Nikon will have a full frame mirrorless competitor to ours within the year 2018. So if Sony is seeing that, I guarantee you they're taking a look at patents, they're looking at rumblings that are going on from inside of Canon. They probably have insiders in there. They know what's going on. And I'm telling you guys, you're going to see a Canon and a Nikon response to the Sony. Sony knows that. That means that they're really going to have to push their game. And I really do think, and I think you agree with me, the A7 S3, I think, can be that turning point. That that product that really just knocks it out of the park. And I think there's a lot of people that are waiting to see what the A7 S3 has to offer before they buy the A7 III, because they're kind of scared on what Sony's going to do with that thing. I think it's going to be a video and low light beast. That's my opinion. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you. I don't know how far they'll take it. I mean, the way I look at this from when I got into photography less than 10 years ago. I mean, Canon and Nikon were driving everything, right? There was you were lucky if you were even in the back seat of that car. If you were Sony, Pentax, Fuji, whoever, right? And then in 2013 is when this started shifting, when they came out with these full frame mirrorless. Now, at that point, there were people who did jump, but it wasn't really heavy, right? But there were people who were sticking their nose in saying, hey, this is important. So Sony started moving into that back seat. And over the last 5 years, with the number of upgrades that they've made, the number of new revisions that they've put out and how fast they put them out, Sony's kind of knocked them out of the way a little bit and got at least one hand on that steering wheel. And Canon and Nikon have to do something. They know it. And it's not that they don't make great products. They make fantastic products. But they're not keeping up with that innovation that that Sony is driving and that Fuji is driving and these other guys are driving. They've got traction now. So Canon, Nikon, they have to do something, and it just makes sense, right? And you're absolutely right. I think the next grades, if it's not the A7 S Mark III, it'll be the next A7R. It'll be the next one they're going to keep packing those in, at least if the past shows anything. Yeah. That they will keep doing that, and they know now with Canon and Nikon jumping on that they're going to have to keep doing that if they want to keep their hand on that steering wheel. No,
absolutely, absolutely. And Canon and Nikon, seeing that the full frame revolution is here. I've talked about this before, how I really do think that Micro Four Thirds is going to go the way of the dinosaur. People get upset with me about it, but I just think the APS-C sensor is going to be the bottom, and we're going to see APS-C, then we're going to see full frame, and we're going to see medium format. And I think that's how it's going, because we're able to make things smaller and smaller and smaller, right? By being mirrorless, you don't have this massive flange on there, and make the things smaller but have bigger sensors. Bigger sensors give you more light, and usually they're better pixels. They're just, it's a better image, period. So I really do think that is the model, where it's going. Let's say the trend. But what I am seeing, which I think is really important for everybody that's in the Sony camp, is we saw that Sigma came out with their art line, their professional glass, all of them, all specifically made for Sony. And now, just the other day, a couple of days ago, Tamron started doing the same thing. I think it was with their 28 to 75 f2.8. Brand new, redesigned specifically for the Sony mount, the E-mount. So that is massive. That means that not only is Sony doing a good job at this, but now the third-party manufacturers, the two big guys, right, Sigma and Tamron, are saying, hey, we need to get on this. You know, we can't just sit aside either. We need to start making glass. I think what's going to happen is now folks are going to be able to say, you know what, I don't need to buy G-Master glass from Sony that costs so much money. I can buy good enough glass for what I'm doing, either on the Art series or on the Tamron Pro glass series, and be able to get into or migrate to that Sony line or that Sony manufacturer in comparison to sticking with Canon or Nikon, which has been, I think the problem is we can't get people over because there's just not enough glass out there to support, especially when it comes to like sports shooters and stuff. You need the big lenses. And when you start getting third parties in the mix, now they can start bringing in some of this bigger glass, and now that revolution starts all over again, you know?
Yeah, competition's really good. It's good from every angle, right? I mean, we should all be really glad that this kind of stuff is happening, and not just if you're a Sony shooter or Canon shooter or Nikon. We all want the innovation. We all want the best product for the money. And what's happening is Sony's driving Canon and Nikon to make changes, but then the other guys, the Sigma and Tamron, are starting to make those changes as well. Right. They start putting out product that's really good, which they have been already anyway for Canon and Nikon. They're just going to continue doing that with Sony. All of a sudden, the prices of all that glass will probably come down some. You've got a more competitive market. It's all good because the boat, you know, all the ocean rises and all the boats start floating with it. So it's really good for all of us that they're doing this, and it's really exciting too, because now I just noticed one of my friends who's a professional photographer, does storm chasing, and he's got a A7R3 now, and he just bought a 14 to 24 Sigma lens. I mean, for the A7R3, and I'm like, that couldn't happen a year ago.
No.
So I mean, it's really good time right now because that competition is really driving both the innovation and the cost of everything. So it's really good.
You know, I see in the Sony news all the time something innovative, something wow. All right, and you know, being a guy that shoots Canon now for almost 20 years, all right, maybe longer. So, you know, I'm coming from it from a Canon perspective. I have Canon everything. I got, I don't know, a dozen bodies and a ton of glass, okay? Tens of thousands of dollars worth of stuff, okay? But seeing that the news comes, and every time the news comes from Sony, it's something innovative. When you hear something in the Canon side, all right, perfect example is they just released a 70 to 200 f4, and it's an IS. It has image stabilization in it. What?
Yeah.
You know, what? Okay, so you release the lens that has image stabilization. Why don't you release a body that has IPS in it, okay? And then you just don't even need to put image stabilization in the glass anymore, and you can make the glass lighter. You know, I don't know. I really don't know. And to me, as a Canon guy, it gets to be frustrating because every time you see something that's going to be wow, like for example, you know, we had the M3, the M5, the M6, that mirrorless play that they had going on, and then now they came out with the M50. Is it pretty good? Yeah, I mean, it's all right, you know.
Yeah. It's
got the articulating back panel that everybody wants, but then, you know, 4K falls into the pits. You know, it does, you know, there's things that happen that just doesn't make sense. Canon is one of those companies that get right to the edge and then just crap it all up just every single time. And I'm just really waiting for them to do something that's going to change things, and I just don't see it. And I don't see it from Nikon either, and I think the Nikon guys out there can agree with me. You know, there's nothing new. There's nothing exciting. Whereas, you know, your conversion that went from Canon over to Sony, and with the last video, if you guys haven't watched that video with Jim, in the last one, you got to take a look at it. I'm going to put like a little button over here. Go and take a look at that. It was really good, and I showed a lot of his images also. But you know, that migration, you don't hate it. You love it. I mean, it works for you. It's not like you got, you know, a product that you are having to say, oh, yeah, I can kind of use it, or I can get around this. You didn't, you know, it didn't come across that way.
No, that's absolutely right. But I will say this much too: if I hadn't have, got won the Sony, I would probably still be happily shooting Canon. I like their products, right? But if you're looking for innovation and you're looking for what's driving the market, right now they're not doing it. And they do have some good stuff. I mean, obviously their focus tracking that they have on the bigger bodies and everything is really, really good. But they got to step it up, right? I mean, they got to catch up. They're obviously in a catch-up mode, and I hope they do. But I'm totally happy with the Sony line. I like the glass that I have, the bodies that I have, even the 6500 that I have is really good. Actually, I'm sorry, I have a 6300, not a 6500, but yeah, I mean, they're doing really good. They are a true competitor to these guys, and I think they're just now starting to realize that they're a true competitor.
Yeah. Like I had that prediction, and I'm going to reiterate it. I think that Sony's got it right. I do think that Canon and Nikon will come out with a full-frame mirrorless camera this year. If it doesn't happen, let's say in 2018, it'll be the very beginning of 2019 for sure. And at that point, things are going to... There's going to be a bounce, and now, like you said, all ships will rise. Sony's going to be, Sony's going to have to do better. They're already doing wonderful, but they have to do better. And then Canon and Nikon are going to have to seriously play catch up to be able to catch Sony's innovation and just the technology that they've been working on with, let's call it, all the beta testers, you and everyone else that's out there beta testing their product. That now it's 4 or 5 years down the road. But there's a lot of people that started out with the very first A7, and they had to go through all those growing pains. I tell you what, one of the things that I think is very important with that Tamron and Sigma, being able to get that third-party glass, that puts a stop to the whole necessity of having to do adaptive lenses using like a Metabones adapter or just something that's just brutal. I mean, you could look at some videos that I did. I did a A7 S2 and I did an A7 R2 review. They're somewhere in here. Just take a look in the 150 videos or whatever, and you'll see that I use a Metabones adapter and I use Canon glass, and it struggled. It was unusable. Now, I heard that many firmware updates to the Metabones adapter has corrected a lot of this stuff and it's gotten better. But you don't have to do it anymore. You just pick up a piece of Sigma glass or Tamron and you're all good, So that's really, that's, I think, the big bump that Sony's been needing. And now they have the two major players in the back pocket, so to speak, making glass for them.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's the reason I went with Sony native glass when I did convert. Is because I had third-party lenses with my Canon products. I had a Sigma 70-200 and I had a Tamron 17-55, I think it was. Really nice lenses, but when you put the adapter on, they didn't work. And you had to go all manual, so I just had to get rid of them. Now that's an option that you can go get that glass. That's a fantastic thing. And yeah, it's going to make these guys who have the A7s, the original, they can throw that adapter away if they want to do it. It's really cool what's happening. And I commented on the last video you did about the A7 III that I really don't want to be a Sony fanboy.
Right.
Okay. I really don't. When the first Sonys came out, a lot of people were bad talking Canon and Nikon because they weren't innovating. And I'm like, guys, these products are still good. Why are you shouldn't give up. But the innovation keeps coming, and it's hard not to be. So it's really good, and it's exciting too, because I think the rest of the market's going to go with it, and no telling where we'll end up at.
Yeah, absolutely. Things are coming around slowly but surely, and I think people are going to start looking at the Sony as being the camera to beat, so to speak. I really do believe that. So anyways, I tell you what, we're going to have to jump off here. I don't want the video to get too long, but what I want to do is I want you to tell me exactly where people can go and find all of your beautiful photos. I'm going to put a link in the comment area. I'm going to put a link in the description, but where is the best place for people to go?
It's jimdenhamphotography.com. All my images are there. I do have a Facebook page as well as a personal page. It's just Jimmy Denham. But yeah, that's the place. You can get to me through the JimDenhamPhotography.com.
Awesome. So, all right, Jim, thanks a lot for being here and just discussing all this stuff with us again. I'm sure there'll be a lot of commenting back and forth, some hate. Some people being friendly.
Hey, you can't control how people respond.
Absolutely,
right?
And I love all comments, and I delete none. You know how I am. I love every single bit of it. I really, really do. And for the one guy that's kind of been, there's always that one guy, right, that literally I'll put a video out there, and 30 seconds after it goes live, there's a thumbs down, and he didn't even watch like 30 seconds of it. I'm sure he already thumbs down this video already, which makes me happy because at least I know he's got the bell notification on and he knows when I go live. So anyways, guys, I hope you also enjoy the content. And if you do, please do me a favor and throw me a big thumbs up. That would be awesome. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button so that you can get my content when it becomes available, and click the notification bell icon just like that guy does so you get the notification immediately when I put a new video out there. That's it, guys. Once again, as I always tell you, please head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find a lot of photography tools I've invented for you and me over the years, and hopefully there's something there that you can use. And if there is, pick it up and support me. I appreciate it. We'll see you in the next vlog. Take care, guys.